Every business has a logo, and when it's yours, it matters. GPS is a 30-year local Las Vegas company that produces custom merch, like hats and apparel, drinkware and totes, blankets and bandanas, really any kind of swag you can imagine that features your logo or message. They're experts at finding or creating the right products for the season and the reason that fit your budget and timeline. Check out the GPS website at gpslasvegas.com, where there's a world of products to promote your brand. Hi, it's frickin' Friday again. So today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm here with Andrew Corrali, founder of TheList.Vegas, and my co-host Dayvid Figler. And we're going to cover if F1 is going to be better for locals this year, the Strip's new resort and NBA arena, maybe, and the passing of our beloved Mr. Piffles. It's Friday, November 15th. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Oh, Andrew, Dayvid, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Las Vegas, and Andrew and Sarah, too.
Yeah, here we are. So let's talk about one of the hottest topics of the last year, F1. So, Andrew, is it going to be better last year? Because if you ask any local about F1, they'll say that it absolutely sucked.
They'll say F off.
Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to believe that it was just a year ago that we were all kind of saying F you to F1. Mm-hmm. And when I think back, I recall this chorus of constant grousing about the traffic headaches and the impacts to local businesses as, Las Vegas hosted this race for the first time. And also, my recollection last year, the vibe was, it sort of felt like the race wasn't a good fit. And I say that knowing that we're sort of close to being a full-fledged sports town now, but it seems like we have this collective ick over this, schmancy European car race invasively upending the entire infrastructure of Las Vegas. So I like to say they were fast, but we were the ones who were furious.
I always laugh at Andrew's quips. I'm here for that.
And then I laugh at Dayvid laughing.
I'm not your Ed McMahon. I am genuinely amused by the way that you frame things.
Oh my God.
I had to give it that oomph. But all said, like, the race, it was a success, right? It brought in $850 million on the weekend before Thanksgiving, which is considered one of the softest weekends for the year in terms of tourism. So that was a good thing.
Sure. But for who? That's the question, right? Not a local business.
Right.
And considering what offsets, because it's not just a positive column. There were also negatives and costs because the county came out and said that they lost $500,000 and countless hours of staff having to devote themselves to this F1 project as opposed to constituents.
Andrew didn't do it. Stop yelling at him.
Oh, my God.
I am responsible. No, you're absolutely right. And so, I was getting to the caveats and the asterisks, right? And so the economic impact was very contained and very, intensely sort of localized to the footprint of the Strip and the race. And so the impact to businesses and the lost productivity in terms of the traffic. Yeah. So I think if you work out a ledger, maybe it's still an open question of whether or not it was sort of a success.
We don't do that here in Las Vegas. We don't
ledgers?
Actually do real ledgers. No, it's
right.
Talking about, what are you talking about? We do two sets of ledgers at least.
Yeah, exactly. The one for the government and the one for us.
So I've talked to some local business owners and the vibe is still bad. Like if you mention F1, people will go off. So Dayvid, you've got friends all over town. Do you feel like the vibe has changed as people are talking about year 2 versus year 1, or are people still infuriated?
Well, invariably, the vibe was going to change because it's not an unknown anymore.
Right.
Okay.
There were a lot of promises that were made, some delivered upon. I'm not going to completely poo-poo F1 as a spectacular event for people who are both interested in it and interested in, Vegas being presented to the world in an even newer way, with European race cars and stuff. But I think that the vibe this year is... Okay, last year it took 9-10 months of complete disruption to our lives in many ways, reverberating from the area that was impacted traffic-wise outward to the rest of the valley. And this year it was less. So I think there was more appreciation and also less, as you say, grousing. Because
it was like 3 months.
It was a little bit less, but I think that people who think about it a lot are saying 3 months for 3 days that goes to maybe 3 companies isn't worth it still. But I don't think there's as much excitement about the race itself. And it's almost like this is a very Vegas-y thing. That again. And so I think people are just sort of waiting for it to be done, seeing how fast it could be dismantled and wondering if it does happen again next year, if it'll be even less of a setup time.
Andrew, what's your thoughts? What's your vibe check?
Well, I think a lot of David's comments are spot on, but I also just didn't notice as much, that sort of miasma of anger and frustration, because I think we were all been also just like slightly more preoccupied with this, little thing called the fate of democracy in the post-literate America, right?
There's a lot of miasma floating around right now.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of stank.
Yeah, we're in our miasma era, right? And so, so I think part of it was we just didn't have time to like think about it as much. So the grousing window, trademark 2024, Dayvid Figler, is short.
Well, I gotta give it to Sarah. She started with it.
I didn't use the word grousing, although we did almost do a story about sage grouses today, so it is all connected, perhaps.
Fair. There it is. But yeah, I think it's human nature, right? You get used to it, you know what to expect. Some of the hellishly intensive infrastructure, things they had to do, like paving, 3.8 miles of road. They don't have to do that this time. So I think the sort of the Bigfoot is a little bit lighter in its steps. I wonder if it will come back. I used to kind of think like, we're not a race town, and I just don't think this will be a good fit. And who knows? F1 may prove us wrong if they can continue to make those moves.
Should be at the racetrack with pit boss in charge. That's where racing belongs, not on our strip. Actually, I don't know. I didn't even know the pit boss was still a mascot, but I just saw a photo of him the other day. So, yes, David, do you want to talk about pit boss? Pit boss only?
Pit boss, of course, being the mascot out there at the Speedway, right?
Yeah. He's a dice head. He's a head of dice.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I didn't even know we had a mascot. I love this.
Yeah, pit boss. It's a double entendre because it's racing and gambling. So has F1 done better? Okay, I'm thinking of the Super Bowl, which everybody loved. Everyone had a great time. There were all these like free or low-cost events that really felt like the whole city was involved, even if you weren't showing up at the arena, which is nice because those tickets at the stadium were extremely expensive, just like F1 tickets used to be, although they've come down a lot in price. And maybe that price point is one way that F1 is now reaching out to the community. Has there been other ways that F1 has been a little bit more inclusive of Las Vegans this year? And like, what more could they still be doing?
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily call it like full like community engagement, but I feel like locals are getting a few extra bones this year. One that's on my radar is this free daytime fan experience in a lot across from the Wynn Las Vegas. So you don't even need to have a ticket to the race. You can go to the race experience venue. It'll have like live bands and food trucks and F1 attractions.
Is that where the big free watch party thing is too, or is that somewhere else?
I don't know the answer to that, but there are also, a host of, watch parties. I think there's one at the Clark County Government Center Amphitheater. There's one in Henderson. So I feel like, they made some sort of like notional recognition of the needs of Las Vegas locals. But I guess what's interesting to me is like, it's not so much that F1 is sort of, reaching out to as Las Vegas is kind of doing the reaching out. And this year, our sort of entertainment industrial complex is, embracing F1 and scheduling other stuff to kind of hopefully spread the energy beyond just the race footprint, right? The Neon City Festival on the Fremont Street Experience, the Raiders game versus the Broncos at Allegiant. So we're kind of just loading up the plate this year, which I think is going to be really interesting, given that last year the vibe I got was that tourism officials were kind of like almost dissuading, visitation outside of the the Grand Prix reason, because we didn't want to overload, Vegas, which I just thought was like very decidedly un-Vegas.
Yeah. I just looked it up. There are a lot of watch parties. I couldn't figure out where there's an official free sponsored one, but there'll also be one on Water Street Plaza in Henderson, which is nice. So, Figler, what do you think?
I can appreciate the activations, I think what they're called, these little pop-up experiences for people who are interested in F1 or who might be the target audience. But I got to just go back to the fact that as much as they're trying to be a little bit more immersed in our community to get that goodwill that they did obviously not get year one. I still think they're falling short. They're shooting pittances of money to charities. I can't tell you how much because it's not banner enough for such a wealthy organization that's coming here and using Vegas, basically. Like, we should be hearing about multi-million-dollar investments in our, philanthropic infrastructure, not whatever they're giving, which might be tens or hundreds even of thousands of dollars. And also, there's no way of getting around their infrastructure requires our best tourist attractions to basically be obscured. The Bellagio fountains and the canals at the Venetian, et cetera, for a long time leading up to the race. So if you and I have friends who come in and we want to show off, the Bellagio or go walking down parts of the Strip or whatever, like that's unavailable to us for a inordinate amount of time leading up to the race. And then they've already got all these like crazy ass barriers up in the pedestrian walkways. So people not only can't sneak a peek at this great, zoom, but you can't see anything now when you're up there. Right. You're like in this claustrophobic tunnel on these beautiful walkways that were designed to have people enjoy the splendor of the Strip. So, I mean, it's
ruining all selfies.
It really does seem to me to be that this is Strip City saying we want everything great and F anyone who gets in our way.
So, gents, the big old races, the vroom vrooms are not this weekend. It is next weekend. What are your plans? Are you going to attend any official events? Are you going to attend any counter programming? Are you going to avoid it altogether? What's up?
I was invited. I'm going to pass. I went last year. It didn't resonate with me. It's not something that you need to see from the stands from my aesthetic. Yeah. And so I'm just going to probably skip it and town.
Oh, you're going to leave town?
I think so.
He is the counter programming.
Wow. What about you, Andrew Corrali?
So actually, despite my, my deep cynicism and resistance to this, invasive spectacle taking over the town last year, I did watch it on TV just out of curiosity. And one thing that as a person who's missing the sports chromosome, I rely on expert commentators and professional sports productions to explain to me what the hell's going on. And much to my surprise, I found watching the broadcast of it highly instructive and more engaging than I expected. So I'll actually probably watch it on TV again and have it explained to me in real time.
On Saturday, I'm going to go to Cleveland, where my family is, for Thanksgiving. So I guess I'm going to skip out of town, too. And anyway, at the very least, I'm not going to be driving across town. That is the thing you don't want to do on F1 weekend.
The new Apple Watch Series 10 is here. It has the biggest display ever. It's also the thinnest Apple Watch ever, making it even more comfortable on your wrist. And it's the fastest charging Apple Watch, getting you 8 hours of charge in just 15 minutes. Introducing the all-new Apple Watch Series 10, now available for the first time in glossy jet black aluminum. Compared to previous generation, iPhone XS or later required. Charge time and actual results will vary.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. From the co-director of Shrek and the visionary behind Toy Story comes Spellbound, a magical new animated adventure starring Rachel Zegler, John Lithgow, Jennifer Lewis, Nathan Lane, and Titus Burgess with Javier Bardem and Nicole Kidman. When a powerful spell turns her parents into monsters, Princess Elian must journey into the wild to reverse the curse before it's too late. Watch Spellbound, only on Netflix November 22nd.
Okay, so David, does the Strip need another resort and does it need another potential NBA arena? That is the question for you. We've got some renderings. What's going on there?
Yeah, the short answer is always going to be yes. I mean, Strip City thrives on new and more and bigger and fill up all the gaps. But let's talk about this story.
Sarcastic.
No, I'm actually not being sarcastic. That is absolutely the
You were
MO.
just mimicking human emotion and it didn't quite land. Sorry,
that
David.
That is the MO of Strip City. But here we are again, Sarah, with another set of renderings of the biggest, baddest, coolest ever thing. that people get excited about because it shows up on the Strip. Look, I cannot do this story without a requisite amount of cynicism because I've seen so many very similar sounding projects being proposed. But this one in particular is on a space that the previous people said was going to be all of this, including an NBA arena. And it took 10 years for basically the county to say, okay, you forfeit it. You have done nothing to get this going. And so it's back up for grabs. And now this new group called LVXP, which says that they're a Las Vegas-based estate development company, though I have not been able to find any track record of this company, has said, oh no, now we're ready to take this area between the Sahara Hotel and the Fontainebleau, an area that Andrew and I will belovedly always refer to as the Wet and Wild.
Wet and Wild.
And
Der Stuka,
which was the tall slide that I refused to go on because...
The Wedgeinator.
Yeah, there you go. So they're proposing a 752-foot, 2,605-unit hotel and condominiums and an NBA-ready arena, which would make it the tallest resort on the Strip. They're going through the process now of getting all the green lights from the various municipality entities, mostly the county, though they went through the advisory board, which gave them a great big thumbs up, the advisory board not being particularly... important in the scheme of things, but it was a hoop they had to jump through. And they presented with big names, which is also a very Vegas-y thing. It's like, we've got this idea. If you let us build it, they will come. But we're not
guaranteed an NBA arena. It's
no,
just
they don't have
Right.
any association with an NBA team, to my understanding. In fact, there is a rival company that is looking at another part of the Strip, or maybe behind the Rio, that seems to have way more connections to the NBA.
Okay.
I don't know who the CEO is. The chief construction officer who presented this, beautiful rendering, et cetera, is the person who was involved with the Sphere. Though, let's not forget the Sphere's construction had its issues with overruns and lawsuits and things of that nature, blah, 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 blah. They also pulled some heavy hitters from the community. A fellow named Rory Reed, who is probably familiar to our listeners. He used to be the chair of the Clark County Commission, famous in his own right. At any rate, this was first proposed back in April to great cynicism from my fellow colleagues out there who thrive in the pool of cynicism with me, most notably Vital Vegas, who wrote a scathing indictment of yet another, what essentially was presented as another dreamscape that in all likelihood will never happen, especially since the financing isn't there.
But now it's going to the Winchester Advisory Board.
Oh, no, it did. It already went to the Winchester Advisory Board on Tuesday, and they said, go for it. But as I stated, the Winchester Advisory Board, they're lovely people who are in a volunteer position, who vet certain things. They're never going to turn down a giant project for the Strip, ever. Ever. I don't think they ever have.
I just want to say, it's also crazy to me that, it's the Winchester Advisory Board, which is a, older residential neighborhood. And I kind of forget that it's right there against the Strip and has to do things like this.
Well, I mean, it's just an advisory board. They have no true power.
Yeah. But Winchester Advisory Board is also just a great indie rock band name as well. So
it absolutely is.
Yeah, they should license that. So I know it's just a rendering, but I actually, what do you think of the architecture of the resort? I kind of liked it. I like the.
It looks like a baked. The arena looks like a baked ziti. It looks like a tenuta casserole. It's kind of flat and square, and they've got some digital projections on the side that looks like a baked ziti.
Look, it's beautiful because they hired an architect who does beautiful stuff in our community, like a real deal. The same guy who did the Circa. I mean, if you got enough money to hire the architect to pay for the rendering, you're going to have the most beautiful thing in the world. And can you pull it off? Who even knows? It's like, look, Vegas is a place where there are a lot of wagers made, but if you don't even have the capital, you shouldn't be in the casino, to make that metaphor.
Andrew, does the Strip need another resort?
It's a weird question because I think, in terms of what the Strip, sort of has to do as its job, the answer is always going to be yes, right? Because the Vegas ethos as embodied by the Strip is, bigger, faster, better, more. So I'm not surprised. And whenever I see a new resort come up and the opportunity of a, interesting building, popping up on the skyline, I'm usually like, color me intrigued. And I like this one's interesting because it has that cool swoop element. I could see a lot of, parkour YouTubers, getting hella viral on that. And the tower looked, kind of neat as well. So I'm intrigued. But yeah, with all the reservations that David lodges as well.
And look, I don't want to be the king of poo-poo. I want it to happen. I always love, especially in the north end of the Strip, which has been long neglected. We had the Fountain Blue as a skeleton for so long, just reminding us of mistakes made, but then they turned it around. Energy on the north end of the Strip is important for the vitality of Strip City. If this is a real project with real financing, I think it would be a really interesting addition. I wish them the best, but there's just no way to pull me out of the cynical column just because we've seen this so many times before. I think the failure rate of renderings and proposals in general is super high, 80%, 90%. On the Strip, it's even higher.
Gosh. Listen, we are building, allegedly, NBA stadiums. We do not have an NBA team. It seems like almost a sure thing with the upcoming NBA expansion, but it hasn't happened yet. Is there a point where we're going to reach our capacity for sports teams here? Are we the new sports capital of the world?
I don't know the answer to that either.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm a little disenchanted that we became this sort of sports city overnight when we used to be the betting city for always.
Maybe both.
I kind of feel a little tinge of sadness for all the little local bars that used to thrive on being the Cleveland Browns bar or the Baltimore Ravens bar, and they were all over the place.
You still got a team bar, though.
They're still around, but but when you go in, you're supposed to be a hometown fan. And so we've lost a little of that cachet too. I don't know. Look, keep bringing it. That's like Andrew says, like everyone says, there's always room for more new in Las Vegas. It's the Ponzi scheme of a city.
Amen.
At an NBA stadium on the North Strip would bring some much needed foot traffic to what kind of still feels like a desolate area if you're outside of the casinos. So
Circus forever.
Fair.
We'll see if it happens.
Blinds.com is kicking off the savings early with Black Friday mega deals all month long. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can even handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for just one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Get up to 45% off site-wide and a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Ford Pro FinSimple offers flexible financing solutions for all kinds of businesses, whether you're an electrician or run an organic farm. Because we know that your business demands financing that works when you need it, like when your landscaping company lands a new account. Wherever you see your business headed, Ford Pro FinSimple can help you pursue it with financing solutions today. Get started at fordpro.com/financing.
Hey, gents, I've got sad news.
What?
I know. Mr. Piffles of the Piff the Magic Dragon show, the world's first and only magical performing chihuahua, has passed away at the ripe old age of 16.
Oh, rest in pause.
Rest in pause, buddy.
Rest in pause.
So he died just days before his 17th birthday, which was Wednesday of this week. That was his 17th birthday. And it was supposed to be his last show before retirement. Who knew he was going to have this story arc of a sad 1950s movie? So
he made it to 119 years old. That's pretty old.
It was extremely old. So instead, it was his memorial ceremony. And the Flamingo, where the Piff the Magic Dragon show is, they've opened up a little dog park. And in honor of Mr. Piff, and there's even a tiny statue it's a fountain, actually, of Mr. Piffles peeing. So it's really nice. So a little background on Piff and Piffles. Piff the Magic Dragon, he did his first full show in 2009 in Edinburgh as Piff the Magic Dragon. And in his own words, it didn't work. People got sick of the gimmick. And the owner of the venue had this little chihuahua and was like, you should put the dog in your act. And he did, and it killed. Now,
Put the dog in the act.
Put the dog in it. That wasn't Mr. Piffles. I actually do not know the name of that fateful chihuahua.
That was a proto Piffles.
Proto Piffles. So then the owner of this venue and Piff
The dog's name was Harvey, and Harvey smoked 7 packs of cigarettes a day. And I'll tell you, when the second Harvey got a break for it, he took it.
I want listeners to know that he's doing cigar fingers with that.
He's doing cigar fingers, and obviously we need an Edinburgh accent because clearly the chihuahua in Edinburgh is going to have a Scottish accent. So here's the deal. So, okay, they went to the Scottish equivalent of Craigslist and found a chihuahua, and they went to go meet the chihuahua, and he was dirty and matted and had dental problems and was biting people. And the owner was like, not the owner of the dog, his friend, Piff's friend, was like, just get him out of this situation, he'll be fine. So they took him home.
Clean him up.
They gave him a shampoo. They take him on stage that night, and this is a direct quote from Piff. Off stage, he was a nightmare, but on stage, he was an angel. He had this incredible deadpan, and the audience loved him from day one.
The deadpan, it's killer. Yeah. I mean, this dog, I don't know how you could train a dog to be that perfect as a foible for Piff the Magic Dragon.
Incredible. I did see Piff and Piffles in June, and the dog fell asleep on stage, which was even funnier. So as Piff says of Piffles, he came up in the theater. Everything I've ever done, all my big breaks, he's been at my side.
Aww.
I know. So nearly 15 years they'd been together. The bananas part of the story, though, is that Piff had Piffles cloned, which actually seems like there's less of a chance of getting a dog that looks and has the personality of Piffles, because even if you're 100% genetically identical to a twin, you're not the same person. And there is a little bit of a difference. So again, back in June, I saw the show and both dogs performed. And Piff pointed out that you could tell the difference between the two of them because Piffles, too, had a sort of, I don't think he used the word joie de vivre, but that's what it was. a joy for life, a bouncier personality than the original Piffles had. That being said, I'm sure that the show is going to adjust beautifully. And I just want to offer condolences to Piff and Jade Simone, showgirl assistant, and Piff's wife. And I know how hard it is to lose a heart animal, and this one clearly changed your lives, and we're thinking of you today.
He went Barbara Streisand on Mr. Piffles, because Barbara cloned all her little dogs too.
Yeah. So lovely. Do you guys have memories with this Vegas Strip icon, Mr. Piffles?
I have, not me personally. I haven't seen the show, but the dog looks super cute.
I don't have any particular insider information, but having seen the Mr. Piffles show so many times, and I have, I believe that dog was both loved and extraordinarily well cared for. There was never a dangerous situation on stage that it appeared that the dog was ever put in. I mean, the shtick was that the dog really didn't give a fuck about the act, and was just so pitch perfect in it. I saw Piff the Magic Dragon and Mr. Piffles the first time at sort of I don't want to call it a pop-up because it was part of a regular show, but it was part of the old Rose Rabbit Live show that was Spiegel World over at the Cosmopolitan. It's kind of where Super Frico is now. And then afterwards, Piff did some close-up stuff, but it was such a great send-up of old animal acts, but also a very modern, updated, loving thing with seemingly his best friend. Because, Piff the Magic Dragon's whole shtick is that he is acerbic and just had this lovely little dog that you just wanted to hug and kiss, augmenting the show in a way that everything just worked because it's really a mockery of a lot of things. It's a brilliant show, and I recommend that people go see it. He deserved Piff the Magic Dragon and Mr. Piffles himself both deserved a permanent spot over at one of the strip hotels because it is both a throwback and something very fresh. So I'm sad that Mr. Piffles is gone. He definitely was a natural for that act.
Very good boy. Andrew, I can't believe you've not seen this show. It is truly a strip classic.
No, I have to check it out now. Yeah, it's been on my radar. Obviously, but just never had a chance to check it out. So it
is wonderful.
Raises it on the bucket list for sure. So I didn't even know that we were cloning animals and it was cool and safe and all that. So I hope at some future show the new Mr. Piffles, just because of the uncertain science of cloning, that he doesn't just suddenly collapse into a genetic slurry on stage or something because of the cloning.
Or become like a monster Piffles or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, or just like his chest just unzips and a beast comes out.
So Flamingo has like a very sweet memorial to Piffles, with the peeing fountain and the dog park, very cute. What are some other ways that Las Vegas should memorialize Mr. Piffles in its own Las Vegas-y way?
Oh, I think you could brand like the Animal Foundation, the Mr. Piffles Foundation or something like that.
I love
Be nice
that.
to put his name on that.
They need a rebrand.
The little rebrand, yeah. They've got some bad press. So, yeah, Mr. Piffles, who doesn't want to go adopt their dog from the Mr. Piffles Foundation? Also, I like the idea of the peeing dog statue at the Flamingo, but I think that we could even incorporate that onto another famous peeing statue in Las Vegas. Outside the back of the D, they have that Dutch... I always forget what it's called. It's like Mannequin Peace or something like that. Whatever, the little man pee statue. And I think that you should have the little man peeing, Mr. Piffles peeing on the little man.
Yeah.
Yeah. The circle of life.
While we're renaming buildings, why not like have some UNLV buildings? Imagine like the Mr. Piffles Memorial Library at UNLV. Now we're talking.
Or just the Piffles reading room.
Damn. Or just like turn the Bellagio fountains into like a one night, dog urine themed extravaganza show in tribute to his spirit.
Is that your pitch, Andrew? Do you have another?
Sure. Why not?
Sure. Well, gentlemen, thank you so, so much. I'll see you both soon.
Thank you.
I look forward to it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. Our interim executive producer is Layla Mohammed. Our producer is Myron Kaplan. Our newsletter editor is Rob Katchelreese. And our hosts are Dayvid Figler and myself, Sarah Lohman. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and all the Kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nuwuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed this show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show and leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Take care. So Piffles, too, has been understudy for over a year, I think. And like I said, I saw a show
learning
with
from
both
himself.
Of them. Yes, learning from his self-daddy.
I want to read that novel.
Self-daddy?
No, just the novel of the dog, the circus dog who learns the trade from his circus dad clone. That's
right.
Genius.